Unraveling the mystery. Phrasal verbs and passive voice. Hello, learners. Welcome back to our English language learning series. Today, we're going to dive into a really interesting area of grammar, using phrasal verbs and passive voice. This may seem tricky at first, but with a little practice, you'll soon get the hang of it. Phrasal verbs are a special kind of verb in English. They consist of a main verb and a particle, preposition or adverb, that changes the verb's meaning. For example, look up means to search for information. Here, look is the main verb and up is the particle. The fun part about phrasal verbs is that they often take on entirely new meanings when combined. Now, let's quickly recap what we mean by passive voice. Normally, we use the active voice to indicate that the subject of the sentence is performing the action. For example, John is eating an apple. In the passive voice, the subject is the receiver of the action, not the doer. The same sentence in passive would be, the apple is being eaten by John. So, how do we use phrasal verbs in the passive voice? Well, it's quite simple once you get the hang of it. The general rule is to keep the verb and the particle together. For example, the phrasal verb, bring up, in an active sentence might be, they bring up the issue often. When transformed into passive, it becomes, the issue is brought up often. Remember, in the passive voice, it's common to drop the agent, the doer of the action, if it's not necessary for understanding. For instance, the issue is brought up often is perfectly fine without mentioning who brings up the issue. What if our phrasal verb is combined with a modal, like can, must, should? No problem. The rule remains the same. Keep the verb and the particle together, and put the verb into its past participle form. For instance, they should bring up the issue, becomes, the issue should be brought up. Remember, mastering the use of phrasal verbs in the passive voice is all about practice. Try to convert active sentences into passive ones, and make sure you read and listen to lots of English to see these structures in use. Well, that's it for today's lesson on phrasal verbs in the passive voice. Remember, it's all about keeping that main verb and the particle together, and switching the main verb into its past participle form. Keep practicing, and soon you'll be using phrasal verbs in the passive voice with ease. Until next time, happy learning!